Hi everyone, it's Alexis with Project Management Made Simple. In this video, I'm going to share with you all some symptoms of the Scrum Police. Scrum Masters are to be servant leaders to our team. We're there to coach them through the Scrum process and to help them identify and remove any impediments to their success. However, what sometimes comes about into play is the Scrum Master has now gone from being a coach and a servant leader to a Scrum Manager or someone who is enforcing the Scrum process. It's a very fine line that is towed between the two, especially when we see Scrum Masters who were historically the project manager. That role of a project manager is typically one of command and control, and so having to have a mindset shift if the project manager has now moved into becoming a Scrum Master, there's implications to not only how the Scrum Master is doing their work, but also how the team is interacting with this person now who has taken on this new role. I actually have a video dedicated. I have a few videos that might be helpful in the area of this topic where I share the differences between a Scrum Master and a project manager. And I also share how the mindset shifts that a project manager will need if they are stepping into the Scrum Master role. So I will leave links to both of those videos below. But in this video, I wanted to share with you all some symptoms of a Scrum Master who is now turned into the Scrum Police or into a Scrum Manager. So the first symptom is when a team reports their stand-up to the Scrum Master. The daily Scrum is meant to be a 15-minute conversation where the team rallies together to discuss a series of questions, to answer a series of questions that guides them towards understanding if they still can achieve the sprint goal. And so what this can look like in terms of an anti-pattern is when the team, instead of delivering that information to the team, they deliver this information to the Scrum Master. Now, there can be a variety of reasons why this is happening. Like I said before, it could be because the Scrum Master was the project manager before. So this team is very used to a setup where they're accountable to the project manager versus being accountable to each other. And so that then becomes a larger conversation to understand, why is this happening? The team is to be interdependent and they are to be accountable to one another. So what are the things that are causing this, and how can we break this pattern so that they can step into ownership of the work that they're doing? Another anti-pattern is the Scrum Master telling the team what and how to build. Now, this is when we want to take a look at our Scrum Guide and see the responsibilities of the product owner and the team. The product owner is responsible for determining what the team builds, and the team is responsible for determining how it is built. The Scrum Master is not responsible for either. Now, the Scrum Master may be involved in facilitating those kinds of conversations, but ultimately the duties of the what lie with the product owner and the duties of the how lie with the team. Another anti-pattern is the Scrum Master becoming some sort of approval gate. So a common scenario that happens is when the team is working within the sprint, there may be different requests that come up outside of the sprint that were not planned for. And it's very easy for the team to fall into a habit of asking the Scrum Master for permission or for approval before bringing something into a sprint. Now, we all know that this is scope creep, and ultimately we do want to have our work planned. But the decision of how that's going to be handled, if there is work outside the sprint that has now become prioritized and is urgent, ultimately that decision lies with the team. And I realize that may make some Scrum Masters uncomfortable, myself included. It's something that I've had to learn, in my Scrum Master journey, that the team is responsible and ultimately owns their process. While the Scrum Master is there to coach the team on the Scrum process and to remind them of their agreements that they have made, it is ultimately up to the team how they decide to handle these various scenarios that may, in essence, break their process. So with the example I gave of potential scope creep, the team may decide to bring that item into their sprint, and it may work out or it may not. It becomes a conversation in the retrospective. But as a Scrum Master, what you can do in this situation, rather than becoming an approval gate or telling the team, no, you can't do that, is to remind them of things like their agreements, to prompt them with questions, to say, hey, so do you all have capacity for this? How is this going to impact the other work that is planned? And through asking them those kinds of questions, you'll help guide them to the answer that is going to be best for their situation. Another anti-pattern is the Scrum Master taking accountability for the team's delivery, whether that's their success or their failures. The team is responsible for their delivery. Again, like I said earlier, if we see a project manager who has become a Scrum Master, it's so easy for this to become the default, for leadership to come to now the Scrum Master, who historically has been the project manager, and to complain to them if things are late, to praise them if things go well. This is the responsibility of the team now. A lot of the responsibilities of a traditional project manager are distributed amongst the team, and so with that, also the responsibility of the delivery itself gets distributed amongst the team. And the final anti-pattern I'll mention in this video is the Scrum Master inviting stakeholders to the sprint retrospective. The sprint retrospective is meant to be a safe space for the team to, in a sense, air their dirty laundry. They are to be able to speak freely about anything and everything that impacts the team. And so by inviting outside stakeholders, this compromises the integrity and the purpose of the retrospective. If stakeholders are curious and want to know how the team is performing and what has been delivered, they can be invited to the sprint review. But ultimately, the retrospective is to be a space for the team and by the team. So in this video, I identified 5 anti-patterns, 5 symptoms of the Scrum Police. I hope you take this information and think about if there's some of this that your team is currently experiencing. As I mentioned earlier, it could be because we have a Scrum Master who has historically been the project manager, but that's not the only reason. So take some time if you're seeing these patterns to examine why this is happening and what you can do to work towards changing these patterns. I want to thank you all for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, please do give this video a thumbs up. Also, feel free to leave any questions or comments below in the comments, and I will talk to you all in my next video.